Most people flee from pain as though it were poison. But the ancients, those who lived under swords, plagues, and empires, treated pain as something else entirely. A hidden forge where character and power are hammered into being. Imagine a slave in Rome whose leg has just been twisted and broken by his master. He looks up, not with hatred, but with strange calm. That man was Epictetus. He would go on to write the words that would arm emperors and generals for centuries. You may fetter my body, but not my mind. Today, we are told that comfort is progress, that safety is success. But what if this pursuit of comfort has made us weak? What if pain, emotional, physical, or social, isn't the enemy, but the very medium through which greatness emerges? This is the secret the Stoics knew. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal at night during war, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In this video, you'll learn how the Stoics converted pain into power, the principles behind their resilience, and how you can apply them when your own life feels heavy and unfair. Watch carefully, because this is not just self-help, it's survival strategy for a chaotic age. The first Stoic principle: pain is information. We are trained by our culture to see pain as a glitch in the system, something to be medicated, silenced, or avoided. But to the Stoics, pain was a coded message from reality itself. And reality does not flatter. It tells the truth. Epictetus was born into slavery. His body belonged to another man, but his mind did not. When his master twisted his leg until it snapped, Epictetus simply said, "You will break it." And when it broke, "Did I not tell you?" This was not passivity, it was observation. He was gathering data about the limits of his body and the nature of power. That fracture became the seed of his philosophy. External conditions are neutral. Internal responses are sovereign. Pain is a revealer. It strips away illusions faster than pleasure. A comfortable life can hide weakness for decades. A single blow exposes it in seconds. That is why Marcus Aurelius wrote at night in his tent during campaigns on the Danube, reflecting on each hardship as a mirror for his soul. Each fever, each betrayal by a general, each false rumor in Rome showed him where his ego was still hooked. He called this process examining the ruling part, the inner citadel of the mind. Consider Cato the Younger, a Stoic hero. He deliberately wore plain clothes and walked barefoot through the Senate, training himself to be immune to both insult and flattery. Pain for him was rehearsal for the final confrontation with Caesar. When defeat came, he met it with self-command so complete that even his enemies admired him. Pain taught him that no external power could compel his inner consent. Even outside ancient Rome, the pattern repeats. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in a cell the size of a bathroom. At first, the isolation was pure pain. Later, he described it as the university of the struggle. Each humiliation was a lecture in patience, each labor a seminar in self-control. By the time he emerged, he had become a statesman who could forgive his jailers without appearing weak. Modern science now echoes these old intuitions. Psychologists studying post-traumatic growth have found that adversity, while destructive to some, can catalyze new levels of empathy, wisdom, and resilience in others. Athletes who reframe pain as feedback outperform those who see it as damage. Leaders who treat crises as laboratories for character emerge sharper, while those who resist collapse inward. Pain, then, is not just an enemy, it's a curriculum. The question is not, how do I get rid of it, but what is it teaching me? When you fail at a business venture, pain shows you where your assumptions were weak. When someone betrays you, pain shows you where you placed unearned trust. When illness strikes, pain shows you the fragility of plans you thought permanent. Each wound can become a signal if you're willing to read it. This is why the Stoics kept private journals. They did not vent, they analyzed. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations was never meant for publication. It was an X-ray of his soul under stress. He would write, "Today I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence. None of them can injure me unless I choose." That "unless I choose" is the pivot, the point where pain stops being random suffering and starts being a teacher. In our time, we hide pain behind curated feeds and pharmaceutical numbing. We treat discomfort as a bug, not a feature. The Stoic sees it differently. Pain is the weight room of the mind. You don't build strength by admiring dumbbells, you build it by lifting them. Practical application. Start by noticing, without judgment, your smallest irritations. The traffic jam, the rude email, the ache in your back. Instead of reacting automatically, ask, what is this telling me? Patience, boundaries, physical care? This tiny shift, observation before reaction, is how you begin to transmute pain into knowledge. Pain, looked at this way, is not a curse, but a diagnostic. It tells you where your freedom ends and where your work begins. That is why the Stoics called adversity training. And like any training, it hurts, but it also strengthens. By extending this first part, you're giving your viewers a deep hook. You're not just telling them pain is good, you're showing them, through story and analysis, how pain is a coded message they can learn to read. That sets up part 2, control versus chaos, perfectly.
Epictetus used a single question to separate freedom from slavery. What is up to me? Everything else, death, status, loss, even the behavior of your loved ones, is chaos. Modern life seduces us into believing the opposite. We scroll through the noise of markets, politics, and gossip, trying to bend it to our will. The Stoic sits still. He identifies the single lever he can pull, his judgment, and releases the rest. When Marcus Aurelius lost his friend and co-emperor Lucius Verus, he did not rage at the fates. He wrote instead, "Do not demand that events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do." That is not resignation. It is energy conservation. You stop burning fuel on things you can't steer and invest it where you can. This discipline looks small but is radical. In every negotiation, every argument, every heartbreak, there are 2 circles: what you can control and what you can't. Confuse the 2 and you drown. Separate them and you float. Begin today. When something disturbs you, name it aloud. Outside my control, or inside my control, then act only on the second. Over time, this becomes automatic. You become harder to manipulate, harder to exhaust, and paradoxically, more effective. Now we move from awareness to alchemy. The Stoics were not masochists. They did not seek pain for its own sake. They sought the power hidden inside it. Think of fire. Left unchecked, it destroys. Contained, it warms and cooks. Pain is the same. Cato's barefoot marches were not theater, but training. He rehearsed public shame so he would never flinch under Caesar's glare. Seneca, accused of hypocrisy because of his wealth, practiced pre-meditatio malorum, daily imagining poverty, exile, and death, so that when setbacks came, he could act instead of panic. In modern terms, elite soldiers run stress inoculation drills, deliberately flooding the body with discomfort so the mind can learn new patterns under pressure. CEOs hire coaches to simulate crises before they hit. Athletes visualize hostile crowds and bad calls before they step onto the field. The formula is always the same: voluntary exposure, reflection, adaptation. Pain by itself is just injury. Pain plus conscious framing becomes power. Ask after each setback, what weakness did this reveal? What skill did it demand? What belief did it challenge? Write the answers down. Over time, you create a private manual of resilience that is yours alone. The Stoics had a word for the goal of all this: apatheia. Not apathy, but freedom from unhealthy passions. It is the steady flame at the center of the storm. Marcus Aurelius called it the inner citadel. Epictetus called it the only fortress which no army can take. Cato embodied it when he chose death over Caesar's pardon. Freedom through endurance is not about suppressing emotion. It is about owning your response so fully that no external force can dictate your state. Modern science has caught up again. Research on emotional regulation shows that people who can label and reframe their feelings recover from stress faster, make clearer decisions, and even heal quicker. You see glimpses of this in high-stakes professions. A trauma surgeon cracking a joke while opening a chest cavity. A firefighter walking into flames with steady breath. A negotiator calming a hostage taker. They're not cold, they're trained. You can start small. Each time you feel the urge to lash out, pause and breathe once before speaking. Each time you're tempted to catastrophize, name the worst-case scenario and accept it. This is endurance in miniature, and every repetition thickens the walls of your inner citadel. We live in an age of comfort so constant that even small discomfort feels catastrophic. Social media teaches us to showcase triumph but hide struggle.
so pain feels like a personal defect rather than a universal teacher. Yet the same Stoic practices work now. Write a private journal to frame setbacks like Marcus did. Divide control versus chaos before reacting to news or comments. Practice voluntary hardship to inoculate yourself against stress. Most importantly, speak less and endure more. In an age of instant broadcasting, quiet resilience is rare and magnetic. When people see you calm under pressure, they sense power they cannot manipulate. The goal is not masochism, but freedom. A person who can withstand pain without bitterness cannot be blackmailed by life. This is why tyrants fear those who suffer without breaking.
Pain is not a monster waiting to devour you. It is a signal, a drill instructor, a forge. When you learn to read it, separate what you control from what you don't, and deliberately practice transmuting it, pain becomes the raw material of power. This is how the Stoics walked through exile, chains, and death with calm eyes. Your life will not be free of pain, but with these practices, it can be free of panic. And that is a deeper freedom than comfort ever offers. And if you want to deepen this mindset, listen to Epictetus and Aristotle on Audible. Start with Nicomachean Ethics to understand how discipline, virtue, and strategic thinking build an unbreakable self.